welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello everyone, this is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales, and today my guest is Brittany. Thank you so much, Brittany, for being today my guest. How are you?
Great. How are you doing today, Mariam?
Amazing. Well, I think I'm doing great. Well, let's start from the introduction. Would you like to introduce yourself and
Absolutely.
tell us more?
I'm the CEO and founder of Wabi, which is a DevSecOps cybersecurity platform. And for those that aren't as familiar with DevSecOps, that's about really integrating security into the software development lifecycle. And, one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be here is that so many people thought it was just another set of tools, but really it's a transformational process, just as DevOps was for organizations. And a lot of organizations are still very much in the thick of it.
Yeah, amazing. We were just speaking about the frame and the picture that you have behind yourself, right?
Yes.
About Wabi Sabi. So would you like to speak about it more?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually literally the picture that the company's name came from. And, the concept of Wabi Sabi says, let us accept imperfection in the things that we create. Now, one of the reasons DevSecOps is such a big digital transformation is that you have development, which lives in this world of gray, right? What's good enough to get out? Anybody that thinks that you're getting a new app update on your phone every week because it's some great new feature is delusional, right? It's because they made a choice to say this is good enough to publish today and then we can finish other things later. But if you think about the world of security, it's very binary. Your antivirus doesn't pop up and go, this is bad-ish. Would you like me to stop it? It says, I stopped it. If you didn't like that, I stopped it. You can go and fix the rule later, but it's stopped.
Yeah.
And so we're dealing with two very different cultures when trying to integrate security into the software development lifecycle. Two different incentive structures, two different knowledge bases. And, the goal is not to make every developer a subject matter expert in application security, nor every AppSec person a subject matter expert in development, but improve collaboration between the two. So where developers can make educated decisions, like everything else that they do, they have that information. And then security can be the expertise, the strategic expertise to make sure the company's meeting its overall goals on delivering that matches the customer promise. So that's where let's make it easier for everybody to accept the imperfection of security and software, and the name came from.
Yeah, right. Definitely agree. Well, I think we can dive into digital transformation. And just as a general question, what is your opinion about the digital transformation, how it looks for you?
It's, I think you'd be hard pressed to find any organizational leader in any industry nowadays that hasn't gone through it. And, it's not an easy process, right? As technologists, we're taught people, then process, then tools. And unfortunately, nowadays, we tend to have this bias to go for tools first, which, the old saying is junk in, junk out. So if you haven't fixed the first two pieces, but it's critical, right? We live in a digital economy, a digital world.
Yeah.
And so if we're not optimizing the organizations that provide us services, and that could include your coffee, and that's how we do it. That's how we're going to maximize the application of technology in the world, right? And obviously I have to make a pitch for security as part of that. I think it got left by the wayside in these digital transformations because everybody was so eager so early that they forgot to include security because it was a different beast. But the reality is that now security is a dinner table conversation. And if we don't secure it properly, we're never going to get the full potential of the technology we're implementing in these transformations.
Yeah. Definitely agree. And I have my own example actually there. So I am in this field already almost for 10 years, I would say. And this is such a good, such a good point that I can show on my personal experience that basically we started with saying everyone we have the support of digitalization, we are able to help you, but us ourselves, we even didn't have the understanding of data security, and we were just okay, yeah, sure, we can do that. And only after, I think after 6 years, we realized that we need that knowledge of data security at least to have. I'm not saying about other securities that there are. And we started from teaching and learning and getting the certificates like ISO 20, other like certificates that are actually helping to have that knowledge. And I definitely agree with that, that when we are speaking about digital transformation, a lot of people are saying, okay, yeah, that's the automation. You are just automating processes. But I wouldn't say that, right? So it's not only that, it's all about the security first, to understand, yeah, this is how we can go safely with the path of the digital transformation.
Exactly. And I'm willing to bet you wouldn't say that you're a security professional, but here you are, somebody with security knowledge.
Yeah,
That's what digital transformation is about. It's about all the components, not just
right.
security, becoming so innate to us in whatever our role is in the organization, whether it is the
Mm-hmm.
marketing person and, or a developer or a consultant or whatnot. There's that fine balance of saying, you now have to have some ownership of this
Mm-hmm.
and understand the implications. Because if you don't understand the implications, at least, then we're never going to get anything out the door. So we might as well just
Agree.
close up. Uh,
Right, right. Agree. And when we are saying digital transformation, do you think that there are phases of them? Like based on your experience, what kind of phases you would say there are?
I think there's I'll overly simplify it and steal a little bit from the founder's journey, but
Mm-hmm.
there's the, period of excitement. Oh my God, we're really moving forward, right? We're seeing
Yeah.
this right now with AI, quite frankly. Oh my God, everything's going to be powered by this new technology. That's amazing. And so you have the really great moment of excitement. And then there's a term in the founder's journey called the trial of despair, where you
Mm-hmm.
start to realize how hard it is. And it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Suddenly, as part of a digital transformation, it's not just a transformation, not just the transformation part. There's a
Yeah.
lot of new things you have to learn and sometimes some new principles.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say you sort of come out of the trial of despair, and then you get into the almost the scientific method. We're going to start
Mm-hmm.
to experiment, right? We first threw
Yeah.
everything at it, and then we realized that was not going to work for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And then you start to experiment and you start to do it incrementally. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's sort of you hear the term maturity models. That's the
Yeah.
maturity model stage. We're going to start doing this phase one. Do we have basic processes in place?
Mm-hmm.
Phase two, have people been educated on,
Yeah.
more specific topics? Phase three, do we have the tools to support them? Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you start to get in. And that's why, quite frankly, the term digital transformation is still around now because
Yeah.
we've probably been talking about this in our industries for 15, 20 years, and it's never going to
Mm-hmm.
stop because there's always that continuous learning and continuous improvement. And when it comes to technology, adding more
Mm-hmm.
technology in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not very different than other curves. You never have a
Yeah.
plateau. You do get to a place where it is just baked into your organization's DNA.
Right, agree. And you spoke about good, I like that phrase really much. It's about continuous improvement. Do you think that we can compare it with digital transformation? Is it about continuous improvement when we are saying digital transformation?
Absolutely. I think the two, I'm not going to say it's interchangeable, but I don't think you can do digital transformation once. It's not this like, I did my digital transformation and now I'm done and like come at me with the next thing. If you
Mm-hmm.
really did it right, you're continuously improving. You're looking at you're optimizing processes, reevaluating the tools that you implemented, looking at new technology and how that's going to continue to build on top of the stack. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really just the nature of, if we want to put both into a category, it's really the nature of good innovation. And by the way,
Yeah,
there are certainly organizations that go, I did digital transformation, check the box, walk away.
exactly. Yeah.
It happens.
Right. Yeah, I will definitely agree with that because basically, again, from my experience, how we are working with companies, it's like this peak of everything when we are changing and having these processes improve, etc. But every customer, after we are done with main part, is always staying for I wouldn't say it's a maintenance, but I think something that when we are just following if everything is working correctly. So there is still this like closely watching how it's working, if there is anything we still can improve, because as you mentioned, it's not a one-time job and saying, yeah, okay, it's automated and it's done.
You must feel rewarded when that happens, that they want to keep you around because that means they actually got it, right? They were
Yeah.
not doing this as a checkbox item, that they
Yeah.
actually said, okay, great, we've done this. Now it's about that continuous improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Stick
Mm-hmm.
around because there's always going to be another project.
Yes, definitely. And speaking of these improvements, do you think there are any vivid challenges that are coming with digital transformation?
Yeah, I think, I think the biggest issue is that, as you probably know from your clients, there's still a lot of organizations that don't have as good of a grasp on it or their ducks in a
Mm-hmm.
row, they like to say. And, one, we're right. This is the problem with digital transformation. If you think about that curve I talked about, you actually have multiple
Yeah.
curves running at multiple times. So people are getting super stoked about, they're finally getting their like basic business processes automated. And then now they're in that maturity curve and now they're super stoked about it. Right. And those two things can't run in parallel. And they're getting external pressure to also implement this stuff, which may not be right. Right. That's the shiny object syndrome. And I think that's where we're going to start seeing, and you've probably already seen it in some industries as well, almost stagnation because they're becoming overwhelmed. They're trying to boil the ocean. They think they're a digital company, which everybody is now, but it doesn't mean that you have to have good hygiene around it. And it starts to show. And it starts to show if you're a company that didn't say, hey, we need to continuously improve, and let stuff sit there stagnant. Yeah. Software is living and breathing. Technology is living and breathing. So it's changing even if you do nothing to it.
Right. And you mentioned about AI, and I think we can't skip that topic. Do you think that AI is, yeah, I know. I think every podcast is now about AI. Do you think that AI is actually supporting digital transformation?
Absolutely, right? I would say AI is more akin, right? There's obviously in the big macro sense, AI is transformative itself. But if we talk about digital transformations, it's about optimizing operations, right? Short version with the most current technology. And AI it's akin to early days of automation, right? It's about supporting a workforce so that the workforce can work smarter, not harder. And I think that's where it's really going to have an immediate effect. Our organization uses, literally, one of our team leads is going to be giving a presentation on this. They use Copilot. And we've had very strict rules in our code. No code in, no code out. And I think Microsoft has probably figured this out, and he's going to give a presentation on how he uses Copilot because to help him optimize. For years, I'm an Excel person. I've spent years Googling Excel formulas because somebody else wrote it first, right? Or the inspiration. It's creative in Denver. And I think this is where we're going to see this great out of the gate impact. And the reality is that humans are good at logic problems. They don't want them in names. So the more we can let humans do what humans do best, that's where we're going to get the gains.
Agree. Yeah, definitely. When speaking about your experience specifically, so looking back, what are some key lessons or insights you gained from digital transformation that you would like to share with the audience?
I alluded to it earlier. Do not forget, you start with people, then process, then tools. And that's the number one place I see organizations go sideways. And I've been part of organizations that have gone sideways in this. When they get that out of order, if you do not win the hearts and minds of the people executing this first, it doesn't matter. And then if you do not have a process to support how they're going to do it, it doesn't matter what tool you buy, because junk in, junk out. So if you have the right process, you will then find the right tool. You cannot reverse engineer a process to match a tool. Well, there's a law called Conway's Law. And I'll send you the meme because it was memes before memes existed. But what it says is that any system that an organization tries to build will mirror the communication structure of that. Right. So this is why we do people, process, then tools, because if you didn't get the process right for it first, you're only going to create more confusion on it. And what the pre-meme meme has is, Microsoft, Apple, Oracle, all of their communication structures. One of them is like all legal and then development.
Yeah.
Another one is just a circle. People, your audience can make guesses about which one's which. And it's funny,
Yeah.
you look at it, you talk to anybody that works at any of those organizations, they're like, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how my meetings go.
Right. Agree.
But I'd say that's the number one thing. And I say it
Hmm.
time and time again, get those three things right, and you will actually have that. And then,
Yeah.
what you were talking about before as well, the continuous improvement, right?
Yes.
It is not a one-time deal. You always have to be looking forward to the next thing.
Hmm.
The analogy I'll use is if this was a revenue driving operation,
Hmm.
a lot of people are familiar with the growth matrix, and they're the organizations that continue to milk the cash cow. It's working for me. Why would I innovate? And then there are others that are willing to draw down on the old thing to invest in the new thing. And you have to
Hmm.
think about digital transformation being that. Okay, I'm going to take away a little bit from this old comfort safety blanket because the new
Hmm.
thing's going to have so much great impact and reward, and we don't want to be behind on it.
Yeah, agree. And I'm so happy you mentioned people first, that this like the line, because in my opinion it's also so important to include people in digital transformation. A lot of companies, I saw so many companies that they were all about technology, but they were forgetting that actually there are people inside this process that actually should be properly communicated. They need to be presented the change because they will be the part of that change, right? So I'm so happy you mentioned people there, and
Right.
specifically, I think the main point is the transparent communication with these people when speaking about digital transformation, because it's actually helping. These people are going to use anything that you will digitalize, right? So
Right.
you need those people to understand what you are
They're going
doing.
to be in the trenches doing it. And I think also it's fair to say it's not just transparent communication, letting them also share their feelings back.
Hmm.
Right. You can always take it with a grain of salt. Humans, our critical flaw is that we don't like change. So it's probably not going to be a lot of, you're going to get a couple of people that are super stoked because they're geeky about it.
Hmm.
And then a bunch of people that are going to be fair. And I think you need to make sure that people know it's a two-way conversation. You're hearing it. By the way, there's also, again,
Yeah.
opportunity for improvement in that, because these are the people that are entering customer records into CRM every day, right? It's
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
easy for a consultant to come in and say that. But if the person that's doing it every day is like, hold on a second, why are we doing both a company field and an organization field or something,
Yeah.
right? Get rid of that. Don't make it mandated.
Hmm.
And so it's worth that. So make sure as part of it, you make it clear it's a two-way conversation.
Agreed, definitely. And when we are speaking about technology, do you have any specific emerging technology that is helping to digital transformation?
That's a good question. I'm trying not to say AI.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, you know, I would say it goes back to my earlier thing that I think what we need is more fundamentals, getting the things that they
Hmm.
already have in place right. Because, think about building a building quickly. If you don't have the right foundation, that building is going to topple, or you'll at least be left with a ton of problems that you're constantly fixing.
Hmm.
So I'd say in this day and age, right, we've got so much great technology. There's always new stuff coming out, especially industry niche,
Hmm.
but make sure you have the foundation very strong and
Hmm.
adaptable.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lock yourself into too many things. And then you can start building on top of it. And I think
Hmm.
that's where we can actually make a lot of gains versus what's the shiny new thing. You're going to adopt the shiny new thing, but get that foundation right.
Yes, agree. And before we will end this episode, I would like to ask about the advice that you would like to offer to other companies or individuals that are listening to
Yeah.
us. So, what will be your advice if they would like to start digital
I'm going
transformation?
to end the same thing I said. I started with, don't forget about security, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is one of the foundational things, and you will regret it. And I don't mean it's not just because of breach, right? It's a real
Yeah.
efficiency loss if you do not have security integrated into this conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
we will never be able to fully realize the true potential of all of this work that you put in, not just money,
Mm-hmm.
to digital transformation if you do not have the appropriate security. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, it's going to be different for every organization. They're at a
Yeah.
different place in their journey, what their requirements are. And so think about that. Think about it in a broader risk profile. Say, what
Mm-hmm.
am I willing to? You do not have to lock yourself in a bubble, because there's even risk
Yeah.
in locking yourself in a bubble and then you never get
Mm-hmm.
in. So how will my risk profile align with my organizational goals? And I think that's, it's certainly changed in the last couple of years. Security is not sitting at the kids' table. It's part of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. But I think it's this big, scary thing. So it's very hard to go around the table and say, okay, sales, what's your goal? Marketing, how are you contributing to this? Right. And security, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, please just make sure I don't end up on the front of the paper. And security is so much more than that.
Yeah.
Saying, I'll talk about the software development
Mm-hmm.
lifecycle. If you align your security risk profile with your project risk profile, you're going to know when you're actually willing to stop something
Mm-hmm.
to fix it versus, hey, it's okay that we fix it later, but can we fix it within 90 days? You're going to treat your lunch ordering app different than your crown jewel.
Mm-hmm.
So the example I always use is our banking apps.
Yeah.
You may log into your bank account and think that that's just one application. But what you don't realize is that there's a different risk profile for your dashboard versus your
Mm-hmm.
bill pay and your wire transfer, because there's so many different components. And if you start looking
Yeah.
at it that way, I think it becomes easier to digest as part of a digital
Mm-hmm.
transformation, less scary, less, hooded hacker in a dark room kind of thing. How is security helping me reach my goals?
Mm-hmm. Agree, definitely. And I think I will make sure to tag you in the LinkedIn post so audience can easily reach to you and your company in case.
Just let me know you heard me here.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to have a conversation. It's the fun thing for me about coming on podcasts. I get
Mm-hmm.
to carry on the conversation well beyond. So please do.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Any last words before we will wrap up this episode, Brittany, from your side?
As long as I'm being a broken record,
No.
people, process, then tools. You do
Yes.
that and you're going to have, I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy digital transformation, but
Mm-hmm.
you will have the right fundamentals in place to continually be able to integrate the latest technology into your organization so you can deliver on your customer products.
Yes, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today and sharing your experience about digital transformation and the security that
Thank you for
awesome.
having me and looking forward to chatting again soon.
Yeah, thank you.